Hello and welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we will go ahead and learn how we can add an image field to our website. So right now, as you can see, we have all these items over here like pizza, burrito and cheeseburger. So this page actually serves as a menu or a food menu. So what we also want to do is that as this is a digital menu, let's say you also want to add an image field over here so that the image will be displayed along with these names right here. So how exactly can we do that? So whenever you want to add a new field to your models, what you simply have to do is that you have to go to the models.py file. So let's go over there. So let me just open up the models.py file, and in here you just need to go ahead and add another field over here for having the image for each one of these food items. Now the way in which we will be adding images here is that we won't be adding an image field. Instead, we will go ahead and add a character field over here, and that character field for the image is actually going to store the URL of a particular image. So for example, let's say if you want to save the image of pizza, then what we do is that we first go ahead and search for a pizza image. So I'll type in pizza over here, and I'll go to images, and let's say if you want a very specific image, you can simply go ahead and you can just open this image up in a new tab so as to get its link, or you can simply right click over here and you can copy the image address. Now if you go ahead and paste this address, as you can see, this thing right here is actually the address of the image which we want. So now instead of having this entire image on our server, what we will do is that we will go ahead and use some other image right over here. Now in real life situations or in real life projects, what you have to do is that you have to host the images on some other server, and you actually can go ahead and import or use images from the other server onto your own server right over here. So now let's go ahead and learn how to add an image field to our website. So for that, we will simply go ahead and type in new field name as, let's say, item underscore image equals, that's going to be models dot, this is going to be a character field as we are storing a URL right here. Now what I will do here is that I'll type in the max underscore length property of this field to be equal to, let's say we do it 500 because URLs are actually longer. Okay, so once you have that, what you can also do here is that you can also add the by default field of the image. So what exactly do I mean by a by default field? So let's say if you're adding the item data to your database, and let's say if you forgot to add an image for that particular item. So what exactly would happen in that case? So in that case, you won't have any image displayed on your web page, and that's not going to look good at all. So what we will do here is that instead of having some empty images, we will add a default image in here, which means that if no image is present over here, you actually need to have a placeholder for that image. So what we will do here is that we will simply go ahead, give a comma, and then we'll type in default equals, and we will set the value of this default to some placeholder image. So in order to get a placeholder, you can again go to Google and search for placeholder food image. So now from here, you can actually go ahead and choose any one of these images right over here. So I'll just simply go ahead and choose this image. So I'll just go ahead, copy the image address, and now I can go back to the code and I'll just paste that image address up over here. Okay, so now I have the image address over here. We are good to go. So now we have added this field right here, but now as you have made changes to the models, now you need to go ahead and also make migrations so that these changes are actually reflected back in the database. So let's open up the terminal and let's stop the server for now. And first of all, what you need to do is that you need to type in Python manage.py make migrations food, because we have made changes to the food app. So now let's go ahead, hit enter, and now you need to type in Python manage.py SQL migrate, and as this is our second migration, it's actually going to give you a number over here, so you need to use that specific number over here. So I'll type in SQL migrate food 0002, and now once I go ahead and hit enter, as you can see, it has actually created the table. And the final thing which we need to type in is that you need to type in Python 3 manage.py migrate. And now as you can see, the migrations have been applied, and hopefully now we have a new field in our database. So first of all, we will go ahead and see if we actually have that field in our database. So I'll just go ahead, type in Python 3 manage.py run server to run the server. And now let's go to the admin site or the admin panel and see if we actually have that particular field. So that should be admin. And now when I log in, as you can see, we have items, and when I click on items and when I go on one of these items, as you can see, now we have this item image field over here, and this item image field is going to be present on all of these items over here. And as you can see, the by default value of that particular item field is also set over here. Now what we need to do is that we need to figure out how exactly can we display this image up on the index.html page, which is this page right here. So right now this page only displays the item ID and the item name, and now we also want to go ahead and incorporate the images as well. So what you can do is that you can just go ahead and get rid of all this code right here for now, or you can just go ahead and leave it as it is and you can delete it later. So you can just go ahead and type in something over here like this is the old code, so that you can go ahead and remove this code later. So for now, let's go ahead and understand how to add image over here. So first of all, we'll actually use this code right here, which is we actually need to loop through all the items in the list, and we will also use n for an n block as well. So I'll just go ahead and have that code in here, and in here what we will do is that we will use bootstrap classes to style our entire layout. So what we want to do over here is that if you go to the actual page, we actually want to have a section over here wherein we have image on the left hand side and the item name on the right hand side. So let's go ahead and do that. So first of all, we will go ahead and create a row in Bootstrap. So I'll type in div class equals row, and within this row we are going to have two columns. So this is going to be div class call-md-3, which means that this particular column is going to span 3 rows, and we are going to have another column over here. So I'll type in div class equals call-md-, and this is actually going to span just 4 columns. And now let's say we again go ahead and create another column over here. So div class call-md-, and let's say this is only going to span 2. So we already know that Bootstrap actually has 12 columns, that is, it uses the 12 column layout. So these are only like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So we right now have 9 columns spanned over here. So what we will do is that we will add an offset to the first one. So what offset basically means is that it's actually going to leave a space of 2 columns over here on the left hand side, and then it's actually going to start this entire column. So we will also add a class which is called as offset-md-2, which means on a medium device it's going to have an offset of 2. Now we will go ahead and add the image over here in the first row. So I'll just go ahead and use the image tag, and the class for this image is going to be card. So this is actually going to make the image look like a card with rounded corners. And now I'll also set the height of this image to, let's say, 150 pixels. And now once we have set the height, let's actually go ahead and get the source of this image. So now, as we all know, the source of the image is nothing but it should actually be the URL of the image which we are going to be using over here. And we all know that we have actually stored the URL of the image in the field which is called as item image. So let's go ahead and get access to item image. So we already have item stored over here. So in order to get its image, I can type in item.item_image. Okay, so once we have added the image, let's go ahead and end this tag over here. So now we will have our image right here. So now if you go back and hit refresh, as you can see, we have all three images up over here. Okay, so now once we have access to the image, now let's go ahead and to the right hand side, that is over here, let's go ahead and add in the item name, the description, and the price. So we'll go into the second column right here, and I'll use the h3 tag over here to display the item name, and in here I can simply type in item.item_name to get access to the item name. Then also let's go ahead and display the item description. So I'll use h5 for this, and let's say this is going to say something like item.item_description, and the final one is going to be the item price. So I'll use h6 for the price, so h6, and I'll use a $sign over here even before we actually go ahead and get the numeric price. So item.item_price. Okay, so once we have that, let's see how this thing is going to look like. So if I go ahead and hit refresh, as you can see, we do have everything over here except for the price, and I guess that's because I have a typo over here. Now once we fix that, when we go back and hit refresh, as you can see, now we have all these items listed up over here. And now what we will do is that we will also add a button over here which is going to say something like, let's say, view details, which is going to allow us to view the details of these items. So we will do that in the next lecture. So hopefully you guys be able to understand for now how we have added the image field over here to our models, and how we are adding the image up over here using Bootstrap in a proper layout. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.